I'm Dr. Mark Hatala, and I want to welcome you to my office. I'm a cognitive scientist who studies time travel by replicating days from the past. So everything that someone would have been exposed to on a particular day, in this case, December 7th, 1972, from the early morning newspapers to late night television and everything in between. Our video for today is about the Apollo 17 launch and some of the pre-launch stories that they had, and then we'll actually watch a video of the launch too because it's utterly spectacular. It was the only night launch of a Saturn V rocket. But the first video that I want to share with you actually comes from Jules Bergman from ABC News, and it's about what happens to the city of Cocoa Beach as the space program winds down. So what new businesses get put in there? Spoiler alert, waterbed factories.
This is what most people think Cocoa Beach is, a jumble of technology. Space and space-related businesses run the length of the beach, from Motel Row all the way to the spaceport itself. While there is still a great deal of this kind of business down here, despite tremendous cutbacks in space spending, things are changing. Perhaps this man, 49-year-old John Moore, typifies best the changes going on. Moore was in the space business, employed as Apollo spacecraft project manager. Now he owns and runs a waterbed factory. Tension and pressure in the space business got to be just too much for him. And so 18 months ago, he and his wife decided that a small business in an area they still liked very much was the way they wanted to live.
I'm doing my own thing. I'm accountable to me. If I work 14 hours a day, it's for me and my family, not for a company, not for the NASA or someone else. And that is a pleasant thing to do. I'm not under any pressure other than making my own little business go. And it's a different change of pace entirely from being in the space program.
Moore and his wife have made a good life out of waterbeds. Proudly, they declare their company is now growing and has become the biggest waterbed manufacturing business east of the Mississippi. Sales last year, $250,000. And what that means is not only a good life for the Moores, but new tax dollars for Cocoa Beach. Replacement tax dollars needed as space companies cut back and people moved from the area, leaving it in a state of depression and with something of an identity crisis. Once a spaceport, what next? A question still not fully answered or answerable. So Cocoa Beach is reaching for its future. New businesses like John Moore's, small though they may be, are part of it. Part of the change in identity needed to survive in the 70s as the space program, which made this area what it was, continues to taper off. This is Jules Bergman, ABC News, Cocoa Beach, Florida.
The second clip of pre-launch coverage is Walter Cronkite interviewing Werner von Braun, who is literally a rocket scientist with a very complicated past. How complicated? Well, during World War II, he wasn't just a Nazi, he was also a major in the SS. Now, in his defense, he said that he would not have been given the security clearance to work on rocketry if he hadn't been a party member. Well, on the other side of this, again, is that he was one of the critical members in creating the V-2 rocket, which was one of the vengeance weapons, essentially missiles which were fired at England during the war. They were terror weapons, vengeance weapons. That's why that was what the V was for. Now, to his credit, I guess you might say, he was actually arrested by the Gestapo in 1944 and held for 2 weeks because Heinrich Himmler thought that he was either a communist sympathizer or that he was purposely slowing up the development of the V-2 program. However, Hitler said that he should be left alone as long as he could be used to develop German rocketry. So again, he has a complicated past because a number of people felt that he should have been tried as a war criminal. However, he was brought to the United States after the war as part of a program called Operation Paperclip, where over 1,000 German scientists and technicians were brought to the United States and essentially put to work initially developing ballistic missiles and then later to become part of the space program. And so let's see the interview with him.
In these final hours before Apollo 17, some people are gloomy about the future of space exploration. Not among them is Dr. Werner von Braun, the retired rocket expert who developed the big Saturn launch vehicles and used to send men on their way to the moon. I talked with Dr. von Braun earlier this evening.
We will go to the moon again. There may be a 10-year gap or so, but when we do return to the moon, we will go there with our reusable space shuttle, with probably a reusable two-stage tug to fly from low Earth orbit onto lunar orbit, and land even on the moon itself with a vehicle that can return to a lunar orbit to be fueled up and do that portion of the trip also repeatedly. The net result will be that transportation cost to the lunar surface will be down to maybe 1/10 of what Apollo demands. And so we can really think of far more ambitious lunar surface missions, such as a semi-permanent installation on the moon, or traverses across the entire face of the moon, maybe of several thousand miles length, where would land the crew in one corner of the moon to pick it up a few weeks later in another location. I think all good things have an ending, and I consider Apollo a little bit, as it were, as the sailing ship and dog sled area to the South Pole. Well, next time we'll go to the South Pole, we'll go by turboprop airplane.
Mm-hmm. You said 10 years or so. You don't really expect anything like that in 10 years. You're talking a much longer period than
Not
that.
necessarily. You see, the reusable space shuttle will be available in 1978 with first successful flights, and it can very definitely be an operational vehicle by 1980, which is 8 years away, and 2 more years will suffice to go back to the moon with the tug that is carried into orbit by the shuttle. So I'm not at all pessimistic.
Well, what is it in our makeup that is possible for us to get excited about an Apollo 11, man's first step on the moon, and within 2 short years of that time, be as blasé as the public seems to be today about this particular launch and the space program generally?
Well, I think it's the excitement of the new. I mean, it's like getting married, you know, and being married. The love is still there and the excitement is still there, but it's no longer the honeymoon.
Honeymoon. Thank you, Dr. Strangelove. Our third clip is the night launch of Apollo 17. Now, it was supposed to be launched on December 6th at 9:30 at night, still a night launch, but they had some problems, and the launch was delayed until 12:33 a.m. on December 7th, which is why it basically starts the day for us. And so let's take a look at that.
Alignment. That's the last action taken by the crew aboard the space vehicle. Now approaching the half-minute mark. T-minus 33, T-minus 30 seconds, and continuing on now. Continuing on at the T-minus 26-second mark, T-minus 25. We'll get a final guidance release at the T-minus 17-second mark. T-minus 17, final guidance release. We'll expect engine ignition at 8.9 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, ignition sequence started. All engines are started. We have ignition, 2, 1, 0. We have a liftoff. We have a liftoff, and it's lighting up the areas. It's just like daylight here at Kennedy Space Center as the Saturn V is moving off the pad. It has now cleared the tower.
Tower, yours complete. We're in a roll, Bob.
Roger, Gino, looking great. For us good on all 5 engines.
Okay, babe, it's looking good. Your roll is complete. We are pitching.
That would have been spectacular to see in person, but I will put links below, and so you can watch each one of the full versions of each of these clips on Time Travel Simplified. And while you're there, why not become a time traveler by buying my book, Final Apollo Mission, December 7th, 1972. It's guaranteed. Our motto is, it's time travel or it's free. If you'd like to support my research further, I'll put a link to my Patreon account below. Also, please like, subscribe, and share this video, and have a great day.